Let's go by like a 5-player by 5-player thing guiding through our consensus. Jake's not here with us again, but we are taking our big board, our first 3 rounds, and we're comparing it to mock drafts that we found in the consensus of mock drafts, right? So we'll go on by like a 5-player by 5-player basis. So when we're looking at this, right, our first 5 and the 5 players are pretty similar. We've got Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, Zach Wilson, Jamar Chase, Javonte Williams as our 5th. And consensus has Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, Jamar Chase, Zach Wilson, Najee Harris as their 5th. And we're really looking at where this podcast, where this YouTube channel really differs from, the consensus rankings. And the first player that we find is Najee Harris. We have Najee Harris all the way down as our...
He's RB3 on our board, right?
Yes.
He's at consensus pick 12 for us, which I thought was pretty low, to be honest.
Yeah. We have Najee Harris considered pick 12, while consensus has him at pick 5.
I thought it was low, but when I went pick by pick, I'd take this guy over Najee.
Exactly. I just think he's the easily most overhyped player coming out of this draft class, with Zach Wilson starting to pick up pace, I feel like. Those are the 2 guys I think are starting to become very overhyped. We've talked about before about Najee Harris.
I don't disagree with that.
Mm-hmm.
Real quick, I don't disagree that he's overhyped. I think right now he's being overpicked, 105.
Are you talking about Wilson or Najee?
Najee Harris.
Okay.
In this draft, Najee Harris, I do not have him as a tier 1 running back prospect. Comparing, last year's running backs and this year's running backs, where Javonte Williams I do have as a tier 1 running back prospect. So, that in and of itself, considering the fact that there are a bunch of really freaking good quarterbacks, 2 tier 1 receivers, and a tier 1 tight end, on top of the fact that we just have Javonte Williams over, I can see why, all of a sudden you just start going pick by pick, and for us, Najee Harris falls. Now, I think the one thing that I will say is that it does depend on your team makeup a little bit in terms of whether or not I pick a running back. Because, on my board, this is going to get scoffed at, but I have Kellen Mond and Mac Jones right around Najee Harris. And people are going to be shocked by that, but at the end of the day, the quarterbacks carry so much value in these Superflex leagues that there is a legitimate argument. If I'm a team that has a really competitive roster, then I will gladly take Najee Harris or Travis Etienne, even maybe over a Kyle Pitts, if I need that running back to help me compete. But if I'm a rebuilding team, I just like these quarterbacks more, and realistically, I would look to trade down if my league mates are all like, oh, Najee Harris this, Najee Harris that. He's a good player, but realistically, it's in this type of draft with all these really good quarterback prospects and these top-tier receiver prospects, I just think he's lower than these guys.
Every time I see Najee Harris film, I always just think, can you imagine if it was Javonte Williams behind that O-line?
Yeah, I mean, North Carolina had a good O-line.
I mean, not that theirs was bad, but Bama's, and with that passing game to kind of take some of the pressure. Not that North Carolina passing game was bad, but phew.
The only thing that does have me kind of cooling down on Javonte Williams is he didn't have a great pro day.
Again, are you talking about his 40 time?
Yeah, pro day doesn't really change a whole lot for me, but it does have me I had him as the clear number 1 running back. Now, I still think he is, but it definitely gets murkier. But
I think for me with this pro day, he ran a 4.55?
Something like that, yeah.
I think for me, I project him to be kind of a Nick Chubb type running back, and Nick Chubb ran a 4.52. So
I mean, I think though Nick Chubb is just a way better pure runner. But let's move on.
I mean, he's not gonna be, but I'm saying type running back.
Yeah, that's kind of a key word. I'm trying to move off that, saying stuff like that. But all right, moving on. So our picks 6 through 10, we've got Kyle Pitts, Trey Lance, Devonta Smith, Jaylen Waddle, and Travis Etienne, compared to consensus which has Trey Lance, Javonte Williams, Travis Etienne, Kyle Pitts, Devonta Smith. So the big one here that we're much different than consensus on is Kyle Pitts, right? We have him at 106. They have him at 109. That's a pretty significant difference when we're talking first round picks.
We should real quick. We should put these 2 lists in the bio too, so it kind of helps viewers follow, our top.
I think that's a good idea.
All right, Lynn.
But what was I going to say? So, we've talked about Kyle Pitts a decent amount, and Lounis and I are both of the we're saying we think he's probably the second best pass catcher next to Jamar Chase out of this class. I think people keep throwing it out there. He's the best tight end prospect they've seen in a while. I'm willing, I'm willing to, if it's especially in tight end premium, he could be a top 5 pick for me in tight end premium. Probably pick 5, but top 5 nonetheless. Yeah, that's just what I feel about Kyle Pitts. We've talked about him a lot. He's actually very young too. He's only going to be 20 when he enters the NFL, which is something that's kind of crazy. He's got a long time to develop too, and we know tight ends. Yeah, we know tight ends do take the longest to develop typically. So I'm willing to wait it out forever with Kyle Pitts. I love the prospect.
He's going to jump up boards though. When he gets picked top 10, people are going to start falling.
Yeah, but I feel like at this point everyone kind of knows he should be going.
He's going to go top 10.
They know it, but they haven't seen it. That's the problem.
He's going to be in his 3rd season. I'm pretty much as old as Najee Harris is right now.
That's wild to think about. I mean, that's essentially what Ronald Jones is doing too.
Yeah.
All right, but let's move on. So this one's kind of the juicy one of the group, right? So we have let's see. We have we have Mac Jones at 11, Najee Harris 12, Rondale Moore 13, Reshod Bateman 14, and Dyami Brown 15. And then consensus has Reshod Bateman 11, Jaylen Waddle 12, Mac Jones 13, Rondale Moore 14, and Terrace Marshall 15. So the differences here are...
Go ahead.
Sorry. So the differences are they are higher than us on Reshod Bateman. They have him at 11. We have him at 15, I believe, or 14. And they have Terrace Marshall at 15. We don't even have him in our top 15. But we have Jaylen Waddle higher than them. We have got Jaylen Waddle all the way up at 109. They've got him at 112. So there's 3 big discrepancies here.
We're also up on Mac Jones 2 picks too. I mean, it's not a ton, but
everyone always forgets how valuable quarterbacks are in Superflex until mid-season hits.
Yeah, I feel like that's why I had him at 112, especially if he gets drafted in the top 15. I have a hard time putting him beyond 15. Beyond the first round in a Superflex draft. He's getting drafted in the top 15.
Yeah, and this is just a common tip. If a quarterback goes top 15 in real life, they shouldn't fall out of your first round of your Superflex rookie draft.
Unless it's Dwayne Haskins.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah. we all kind of knew about Dwayne Haskins, what was going on there. The Washington football team was just a tough organization to trust. But yeah, I mean, I talked about Reshod Bateman, why I'm really high on him. You guys talked about why you're low on him. Same thing with Jaylen Waddle. Honestly, same thing with Terrace Marshall. And, that kind of gets to where now it gets more interesting and more players that we haven't talked about, right? Because then we move on past those picks. So now when we're talking about 12-team Superflex drafts, right? We're in the middle of the second round. So at 204, which would be pick 16, at 204 we've got Elijah Moore, 205 Kellen Mond, likely to Frank due to Frank, 206 Tylan Wallace, 207 Jermar Jefferson, and 208 Terrace Marshall.
While 207 for us is Gainwell.
Oh, sorry, yeah, Gainwell. And 208 Terrace Marshall. While they have Gainwell all the way up at 204, Elijah Moore at 205, Michael Carter 206, Tylan Wallace 207, Jermar Jefferson at 208. So the big ones here they are higher on Gainwell than we are by about 4 picks, as well as Michael Carter. And I feel like a lot of that lies in I'm kind of lower on Michael Carter than consensus. I've talked about him a couple podcasts ago. And they're also higher on Kenneth Gainwell than us. Which I'm starting to come around on, guys. I'm starting to like Kenneth Gainwell. What do you think?
I love Kenneth Gainwell. He plays so hard. One thing that, I think of all these running backs, though, Kenneth Gainwell's got a decent shot of maybe sneaking into the end of the second round, which will start shooting him up. Because I think that's That's the one thing that it seems like all these drafts are waiting for right now, is that they're looking to see if one of these running backs is going to sneak into the end of the second round, whether it's Gainwell, Carter, Jefferson, whoever, right? You can just insert running back name. They sneak into the second, all of a sudden they're going to shoot up draft boards, and they might sneak up towards the end of the first, and then you're going to start hearing all those people say the Tampa Bay running back's name.
Keyshawn Vaughn,
yeah. Then you're just going to hear everyone saying, oh, Keyshawn Vaughn, and then you're going to be like, the other people saying, oh, but he's good, he's a second-round pick. It's just going to be this whole mess. It's going to be hilarious.
Yeah, it's once the NFL draft happens, the rookie drafts and the debate over the rookie drafts before the NFL season, it's going to be bloodshed. It's going to be a bloodbath.
But Kellen Mond.
I don't know who. Okay, I'm telling you now, and I'm sure you guys both know this, so I guess this is more to the viewers. Kellen Mond is going to rise on everyone's consensus when they see how early he goes in the real-life NFL draft.
Yeah, I don't know who's so high on Kellen Mond, but
yeah, Kellen Mond.
I think he's all right.
Kellen Mond is much different. We've got him at 205. According to our rankings, we're willing to pick him in the middle of the second. They've got him a whole round behind at 305. Consensus does. So I feel like the majority of that is Frank really driving it, but
I had him pretty high. I had Kellen Mond. Let me find it.
It is while you look for it, I will just chime in. Like it is interesting when we're getting around this point, like I'm not really going to bat or dying on a hill for most of these prospects. So like getting a quarterback probably has your best chance of getting more value, because if you could get a starting quarterback, and according to Frank, one that's more likely to be a quarterback one than some others, fantasy wise, and you're getting him in the middle of the second round, that's great value. That's insane value, really.
Yeah, so. JT, you can go fuck yourself for putting him at the very last pick. I feel like that was almost just to spite me.
Yeah.
Make that my
You're lucky. You're lucky I've got him in mind, because I originally wasn't going to, but I was like,
yeah, I would have rather you just left him off than put him at the very last pick.
What I did do is I left Tony off. I left Tony completely off.
It's blatant
at least I didn't do that. It's not disrespect. It's just facts. My rankings are facts. They are law. They're the right ones. They're the only ones.
One thing I will say, though, real quick.
JT destroys Tony Truther with facts and logic.
I'm kind of out on Terrace Marshall, to be honest. I watched a lot of tape. Initially, I did like him. Man, I just... He's inconsistent. He doesn't try half the snaps, mainly when he's not getting the football. Like, he's in this weird middle where it's like he has some reps where he produces on the outside, and then other reps where he gets shut down, and then you put him in the slot, and sometimes he produces, and then sometimes he gets shut down. Tape just very inconsistent. I understand there's a lot of people that are really high on him, but I have him in this same tier where it's like, you know, a lot of people like him and are drafting him. What, like his consensus is 203?
Yeah,
like dude, last year in basically every draft, I could have picked up a Brandon Ayuk at 203. I would much rather have right now a Dyami Brown at 203. Even like Kellen Mond, Mac Jones if he falls, Rondale Moore. Like I feel like these guys are way above, for at least in my opinion, Terrace Marshall as a prospect. So I am out on Terrace Marshall.
By the way, just to clarify to the thing earlier, Frank had Kellen Mond at 108. I have him at 202, so I think he's worth a top 3 pick in the second round. And then JT, I don't even want to say it.
Once again, it does depend on, like, I'm not saying to go out here and at 108 pick up Kellen Mond, because, like, if I were in that scenario, I would trade down and just pick up value and then pick up Kellen Mond early in the second round. Like, I'm not saying that you should go out here and draft Kellen Mond early in the first round. It's just, when push comes to shove, I think that Kellen Mond's just got just as much of a chance of being a high-end quarterback as these guys that are being picked really highly right now.
Personally, I just don't see it with Kellen Mond, but...
Yeah, go watch the tape, JT.
I watched the tape.
Go watch the tape.
I've told you we've debated this before. I'm not... him not buying.
All right, let's move on, though. Let's move on.
Yeah, okay. We're getting pretty close to wrapping it up, actually. We'll finish up the second round here, and then we'll wrap up with the third round. So now we're looking at around 208, 209, where So we had Terrace Marshall at 208, Trey Sermon 209, Michael Carter 210, Chuba Hubbard 211, and Kardarius Toney 212, which is likely due to me keeping him off my board. Consensus had Jermar Jefferson 208, Amon Ra St. 209, Toney at 210, Dyami Brown at 211, and Chuba Hubbard at 212. So what really stands out here is Dyami Brown, and maybe Jermar Jefferson as well, because it does seem like consensus is a lot higher on Jermar Jefferson than we are, and we're a lot higher on Dyami Brown than consensus is. We have Dyami Brown like almost a full round higher, and then Jermar Jefferson, they have almost like half a round higher, maybe a little more. So those are the two guys I guess we'll really focus on. I guess we can even skip Dyami Brown because Frank and I told everyone about our love for Dyami Brown, what we believe in him. I guess consensus just doesn't really see that yet, but I agree.
Once he gets good draft capital, if he does, I think he's going to shoot up.
I think he's a prime target to be shooting up boards.
I think it's the same thing with Jermar. I don't think that Jermar is going to go anywhere near as high as others seem to believe.
Because you think he won't get drafted high. So he'll drop.
Yeah, I have him valued as like a 5th round prospect.
Yeah, everyone tries to. Yeah, I was gonna say every year. I'm attacking R-Dynasty directly. Every year, like it's always some late round running back who they try to force up just because everyone's desperate for running backs. Like seen it with Darwin Thompson, seen it with what's his face, Keyshawn Vaughn. Yeah, it happens every single year.
All right, but those are
late round running backs.
Yeah, those are the two main guys that we're really different on. So we're higher on Dyami Brown, lower on Jermar Jefferson. Although I'm okay with Jermar Jefferson. I actually kind of like him. I think he'll be.
Yeah, and you're the worst
prospect. Sorry. All right.
I think he's my RB7.
round.
301 to 306. We've got Amon Ra St. which is a little lower. Nico Collins, who we have a little higher than consensus. Jermar Jefferson, we talked about. Tamorrion Terry at 304. 305.
Dude, they don't even have Nico Collins in there on the mock.
Yeah, when we're getting into this zone, it does get a little hazy with where people have certain players. 305 Kyle Trask, 306 Seth Williams. So we could stop there and talk real quick. The real difference is at 301, consensus has Pat Freiermuth. 302, Tamorrion Terry. 303, Kyle Trask. 304, Trey Sermon. 305, Kellen Mond. Obviously, we talked about Kellen Mond while we're higher on him, mostly thanks to Frank, which puts him like a full round higher. Kyle Trask is about the same. So the two guys that we got to focus on here are Pat Freiermuth, who we are lower on, and Trey Sermon, who we are higher on. Trey Sermon, I think we talked about a decent amount. I'm pretty high on Trey Sermon, and you just go watch his most recent games. I feel like he could be a decent back in the NFL, but obviously I don't feel that highly about him because I'm only willing to pick him at like a mid-second round pick. Meanwhile, we've got Pat Freiermuth at 301, who is he even on some of our boards? I feel like he's at the
he's
end
at the
of
very
Jake's
bottom
board.
of mine. Well, because
Yeah,
I think the big difference is let me find mine really quick. I think the big difference is, and I think it'll change, that some of us, it might be all of us, don't have him as tight end too.
Yeah, I don't have him as tight end too. I've got Brevin Jordan. We're kind of equal with consensus on Brevin Jordan though, but I'm higher on Brevin Jordan than Pat Freiermuth. I don't really see it with Pat Freiermuth. I think it's Kyle Pitts, and then as Frank loves to say, the wasteland. I just don't see any of those guys really ending up being.
Here's the thing with Brevin Jordan and Freiermuth, where I think if you talk real life NFL, they're pretty equal. But if we're talking fantasy with receiving, I think Jordan's the better receiver. So that's what matters here.
I agree, yeah. But I just, to be honest, maybe Brevin Jordan ends up being something, maybe he doesn't. I mean, that's why I've got him in like the early third. I think I have him.
It's a huge drop off after Pitts. Like no one's even close.
Yeah.
Man, it is a crime that they have Kyle Trask over Kellen Mond, and even Trey Sermon to a certain extent.
I do have Kyle Trask over Kellen Mond, albeit
but we already established that you're the worst.
Yeah. I mean, they're 311 and 312 in my rankings, so like it's not big.
I like Tamorrion Terry.
That's disrespectful.
This mock seems to be pretty high on him. I think The problem with Tamorrion Terry is that we don't know what the hell happened at Florida State with his off the field issues and the fact that he got into a fight with the team. To be honest, after watching their offense, I think I would too, so I can't really blame him. Then it's like, dude, he's so inconsistent. Like, you can tell that his technique is just kind of crap, which I think is going to kill his draft stock a little bit. I like his talent, but if he comes out and he's a 5th round pick, statistically speaking, you've only got like so much of a chance of hitting. So that's a tough one. To be honest, I haven't watched the tight ends, so I'm not even going to talk about the tight ends.
If Terry boosts himself up into a day 2 pick, he'll definitely fly up my boards. I don't think it's going to happen, but he is someone I like if he gets the decent draft capital. All right, summing up the last ones, we're going to wrap it up here. 307 to 312. 307, we have Dwayne Eskridge. 308, Brevin Jordan, who we just talked about. 309, Pat Frymuth, also talked about. 310, Demetric Felton. 311, Amari Rogers. And 312, Tutu Atwell. A very different board from Consensus, who has Brevin Jordan at 307, Kylan Hill at 308, Ramondre Stevenson at 309, Dwayne Eskridge at 310, Jarrett Patterson at 311, and Amari Rogers at 312. So there are some guys on here that we have that they don't. They have some guys that we don't. This is kind of where we get into, it's literally dartboard throws. Like, I don't know what the statistics are on what late round thirds actually end up hitting, but I gotta imagine it can't be that high.
Dude, this is my zone. All right, I am the 3rd, 4th round master.
This is where you could get a lot of value though if you hit, but I'm not willing to bet on it. I don't really feel comfortable relying on any of these guys or really expecting anything from the guys that I have from 307 to 312. They've kind of all just seem like roster cloggers to me.
I don't know. I like Demetric Felton. I think that he's a guy that has a ton of potential. I think the problem is that he could run into that issue. We don't really know what he is. He might switch to a receiver. He might stay a running back. So that's a little bit dicey. But I'll tell you what, Tutu Atwell, outside of the 3rd round possibly, could be a really good get. I understand the whole Tutu Atwell, I think it was Daniel Jeremiah that came out and had him as like a top 20 prospect initially, and now he's not even in his top 50. So like there was an initial surge of people being like, what the fuck, Tutu Atwell? I still like Tutu Atwell a little bit. I don't think he should go outside of the 3rd round in a draft. I see a lot of Mike Wallace in him. I think he's a guy that in that intermediate space of the field, there's a lot to be desired, but 9 routes, corners, as well as throw it to him behind the line of scrimmage, the dude's just got speed, like NFL level speed. So he plays bigger than he is. I like Tutu Atwell as like a 3rd round pick dart throw. Same thing with Demetric Felton. The guys that they have, I'm out on a lot of them. Like Amari Rogers, I'm probably not picking up. Jarrett Patterson and Kylan Hill are kind of jags to me. I like Ramondre.
I think
Dwayne
Jarrett
Eskridge
Patterson also had a terrible pro day. I think Jarrett Patterson had a really bad pro day. Yeah. So,
dude, watching some of those games, I think he plays in the MAC, right?
Yeah, Buffalo.
Yeah, Buffalo. They're in the MAC. Like, dude, some of those games, like, I love MAC football, and I watch a ton of small-ass college football. I was watching some South Alabama tape before we came on the podcast, but, like, dude, the games that they played in was a freaking clown fiesta. It was hard to watch.
Yeah, I mean, when we're talking 3rd round picks, late 3rd round picks, that's what they're going to end up being.
Take the
but
yeah.